When you think of some of the most important New York Knicks players on the roster, Mitchell Robinson absolutely has to come to mind because he is the defensive anchor for this New York Knicks team. But that does not mean he's untouchable. According to an NBA insider, he reported that the New York Knicks actually discussed trading Mitchell Robinson at the time for Portland's Jrue Holiday. We're going to break down that report and see why it's significant that the New York Knicks actually included Mitchell Robinson's name in a potential Jrue Holiday deal. We're also going to look at a former New York Knicks head coach that just joined a division rival. We're going to break down all of this and so much more today. Let's get started. The New York Knicks apparently discussed a trade including Mitchell Robinson, and that trade was for Jrue Holiday, who at the time was with the Portland Trail Blazers. Shout out to SNY's Ian Begley for reporting the following and giving us the inside scoop. According to Ian Begley, he stated the following. Robinson's name came up in the Knicks talks with Portland about a potential Jrue Holiday trade. Obviously, nothing came to fruition there, but any team talking to the Knicks about a significant deal will probably ask about Robinson. He's young, productive, and on a reasonable contract. If the Knicks traded for Towns or Joel Embiid, it's logical to assume that Robinson would be in the deal since he'd overlap positionally with either player. So much thanks going out right now to Ian Begley for giving us this massive update here. I really appreciate it, and we have to break this down. The fact that the New York Knicks are okay, including and discussing Mitchell Robinson's name in any potential deal, is absolutely significant. Because even though he's the defensive anchor for the Knicks, and he's one of the more important players for the Knicks, it does not mean that he is untouchable. If the trade is right and it makes sense and it gets the Knicks back an all-star level player or a player that's a rising star that could potentially get to the all-star caliber of a type of player, the Knicks, I think, would absolutely entertain that type of a trade. And if Mitchell Robinson was the key to getting the trade done, I don't think the Knicks would hesitate to get a trade done, especially if that meant getting a premier big back. If including Mitchell Robinson in a deal helped them get Cat, helped them get Joel Embiid. If that was the case, the Knicks would not hesitate and absolutely would pull the trigger. Because as much and as good as Mitchell Robinson is for you and gives you on the defensive end for the Knicks, the offensive side for Mitchell Robinson still leaves a lot to be desired. Because still, even in this time with the New York Knicks, even after all these years under Tom Thibodeau, all I can say about Mitchell Robinson is that he's one of the best offensive rebounders in the game. He's great at putback dunks, and in terms of cleaning up the glass, not only offensively, but defensively as well too, he can get rebounds like nobody else's business. And he's one of the main reasons why the New York Knicks went to the playoffs last year, because the Knicks didn't shoot the ball relatively well last year. But the reason they got to the playoffs is because they cleaned up the glass nearly better than any team in the league. And Mitchell Robinson was a huge part of that. So you have to give him credit and kudos for what he did for the New York Knicks and all the work that he put in for the New York Knicks playing the 5 position, especially under Tom Thibodeau, who asked so much of his 5 without asking him to do a lot on offense. It's a very limiting job and position, especially when you're playing under Thibs. And while Mitchell Robinson has grown frustrated at times with how he's been utilized in the offense, he still shows up, he still comes to work, and he still does what he needs to do on the defensive end. His trainer, though, has definitely begged Tom Thibodeau to use Mitchell Robinson more on the offensive end because he believes that Mitchell Robinson has some moves, especially, and I quote, some back-to-the-basket moves that he can utilize for the Knicks to help them get better. I haven't seen these moves. Maybe they're being done in practice. Maybe only Tom Thibodeau has seen them. But if they are decent enough, I would think that Tom Thibodeau himself should at very least owes it to Mitchell Robinson to allow him to do it at least in a preseason game so we all can see how it looks. Because if it looks even somewhat decent enough and it goes in, let him continue to do it because we need more defenses collapsing on our 5. Because right now, when Mitchell Robinson has the ball in his hands, it's usually because he took it off of a putback or he grabbed the rebound and is initiating a putback dunk. Either way, one of those things are happening, which is why Mitchell Robinson has the ball in his hands. We need to utilize Mitch more on the offensive side because that will allow defenses to buy in on him, collapse on him, and allow the other players on the offense to have more open lanes and just to be more open in general so they can get a shot off with about 2 or 3 hands not being in their face. And I think that's the biggest point and the biggest purpose of why you want Mitchell Robinson out there and what he can do for this New York Knicks team. But it is very interesting that the Knicks included his name in a potential Jrue Holiday deal. Jrue Holiday is another guard, so it's not like they needed another guard. But he is an all-star. In terms of defense, he's probably the best defensive guard in the game in the NBA today. I would absolutely put money on that because I believe it to be true. So because of that, you can clearly see what the Knicks are doing here. The Knicks want to keep Mitchell Robinson, and they're not going to move him just to move him. They're not going to move him just to move him for anybody. But if they can get an all-star back, a star player back, or even in my opinion, a rising star that has the potential to become an all-star, I believe they will make that trade and get the deal done, even if it means not getting a center back in return. Because I think the Knicks have a lot of faith in Jericho Sims and Isaiah Hartenstein right now. And because of that, that might make Mitchell Robinson expendable. I'm not saying he is right now, but if you're looking at everything and you're reading the tea leaves, that's what I'm looking at and that's what I'm seeing. Let's not forget that a couple of weeks ago, Vincent Goodwill of Yahoo Sports reported that in any trade, the New York Knicks would be seeking multiple first-round picks for Mitchell Robinson. A lot of people asked why that even came out, and some people theorized that potentially it was to set the market for Mitchell Robinson to ensure that when teams look to trade for him, they know that the New York Knicks are expecting a haul for him. So either they're going to have to give up picks or something else just as significant to get the deal done. Maybe a star, maybe an all-star, maybe one of those all-stars in Minnesota or in Philadelphia. It's not unheard of and it's not crazy. And with the New York Knicks holding on to Evan Fournier's contract headed into the season, it seems like, everything is pointing to the Knicks potentially making a trade deadline move. And they might make a move at the trade deadline that shakes up the East even more. I absolutely cannot wait to see what Mitchell Robinson does with this New York Knicks team. And not only that, what the Knicks do with Mitchell Robinson as they move forward. Because I'm going to say it again. If Mitchell Robinson helps the Knicks net a star or all-star, it's not going to matter how good he is, how important he is for the New York Knicks, or the fact that he's the defensive anchor for the Knicks. If it gets them an all-star, Mitch is out of here. The Knicks are going to pull the trigger on that deal. And that is that. If you didn't believe it, well, now you know. Because Ian Begley just told you that even for a guard, a position that they already have so many players at, they were willing to trade Mitchell Robinson in a deal to get Jrue Holiday. His name was discussed. That, my friends, is important, but definitely significant. A former New York Knicks head coach actually joined one of our division rival teams. That head coach is actually a favorite of mine, Jeff Van Gundy. And the team that he joined is a team I hate almost as much as I hate Miami. The Boston Celtics. Shout out to Sports Illustrated for reporting the following. They note that the Celtics have hired a former Knicks head coach in Jeff Van Gundy. The Boston Celtics have added him as a senior basketball consultant with the team, and he brings with him 11 years of experience as an NBA head coach. The former New York Knicks head coach Jeff Van Gundy, again, is joining the Boston Celtics in a senior consultant role, assisting on all basketball operations matters, not just coaching. The Celtics reportedly considered adding him to Joe Mazzulla's coaching staff back in July. Tom Thibodeau was actually asked about this, and his comment about it was disgusting. Do you see my face? I'm disgusted. Jeff is a staple of the New York Knicks past, a staple of my childhood, and a staple of when the New York Knicks teams were so competitive, playoff bound, and ready to go. And now he's taking all of that and joining one of our division rivals in the Boston Celtics. A team that is so good on paper. A team that is likely top in the East right now. A team that didn't need him, but now has him. It's not a significant move. It's not a major move. But it's also not a move that you look at and turn your nose up at, or look away at, or make fun of. Jeff Van Gundy was one of the better coaches for the New York Knicks. He is going to help the Boston Celtics and that franchise immensely, especially if it's not just with coaching, but on the basketball operations side as well too. Jeff Van Gundy is a savant of the game. He understands it so well, not only on the coaching side, but on the management level side as well too. I wanted him within the New York Knicks organization, either as the same role or just as a broadcaster, so I can see Mike Breen, Mark Jackson, and Jeff Van Gundy all together again, calling some games again. I thought that would be great to see for MSG. Unfortunately, we're not going to see that. He has now joined the Boston Celtics. This has really made me sad. I'm very upset. There's really not much else to cover for this story besides the fact that it makes me very mad, unhappy, and sad. But what about you guys? What do you guys think? Do you like the fact that Jeff Van Gundy has joined the Boston Celtics? Do you think it's a big deal, or does it not matter? And what about Mitchell Robinson? Do you like the fact that the New York Knicks discussed his name in a potential trade for Jrue Holiday? Let me know in the comments below, because honestly, guys, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. If you like what you saw, please go ahead and smash that like button. Leave a comment below. But of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.